Hey, I'm Terri Conrad with Bloom True. This is my YouTube channel, and if this is the first time you're here, welcome. Today, I want to take you through painting some fall leaves, and the idea is to paint what we see. I have a golden retriever, and we go on a walk every morning. And I live in North Los Angeles County, and we really don't get the season of fall here. But I picked up a couple leaves, and I just wanted to look closely at these with you before we begin. I'm looking at this one, and I notice how it has a yellow undertone. And then the green and the brown that I see is on top of that golden yellow. And so with this leaf, I'm going to begin with a yellow undertone. And we'll go over this again. This is just kind of some little basics. And this little guy, and he's actually drying up already, and there's dog hair on it. Okay, this one, oh my gosh, there's a lot of dog hair. How did that happen? Okay, this one has more of, well, when I picked it up, it had more of a green undertone to it. A very, very soft, subtle green with browns and golds on top of it. I want to try and get a close-up of that for you. There, okay, we can see the green in here and in the center. That's the undertone. So that's going to be our very first layer. And again, I'll go through this as we begin painting. This is just a little workup page that I did, and these are the paint swatches. I wanted to create my own autumn palette, and so I went shopping for some Winsor Newton Cotman brand, which are kind of mid-range, not terribly expensive, not terribly cheap, good quality. And so I've got that, and I'll list the colors down below. And then I have some additional colors here. And the brushes I have, I don't know that I'll be using all of these. I think they're all Princeton. So I have a 5, a 4, I have a 2, and then I have a number 2 Neptune. And it's so interesting to see how the bristles are different within the different brand. This is a Princeton Heritage. This is a Princeton Neptune. This one, the bristles are a little tighter and more pointed, especially when you get the brush wet. This one is a little fuller, and we'll just see. I think we're going to start out by just doing some brush strokes to get accustomed to the brushes. But anyway, whatever you have, whatever paints you have, and whatever brushes you have, feel free to approximate, and you do not need to use exactly what I'm using to accomplish the same painting. So I'm gonna get my water bottle and spray down my pigments to activate them, and then we'll begin. We're going to begin practicing with just a few brush strokes that are part of every leaf that you'll paint. I picked up the Master's Touch number 4 round, and it does have a nice point to it. It's an inexpensive brush, but you can use any number 4 brush. So let's begin by just making some thin lines with the very tip of your brush, and then touch down with the tip, and as you touch down, pull and then press the belly of your brush down onto the paper and pull. And you want to be sure to hold your brush perpendicular. You can see how the brush is pretty much straight up in my hand. So you touch the tip, press down on the belly, lift up while you're pulling, touch the tip, pull, press down on the belly, lift up as you pull. And you'll get these kinds of strokes. This one has water in it. This one, my brush got a little dry. So I'm adding water, dipping it back into the pigment, and I'm coming down, touching the tip to the paper, pressing down on the belly of the brush, lifting up as I'm pulling, and I come back to that point. So again, tip, push down and pull, and lift up. And I think I like this last one the best. Now we're going to practice some C strokes. So again, it's the same stroke. You touch the tip of your brush to the paper, and you're basically painting somewhat of a C stroke. So touch the tip, pull, press down, and lift up. And it's all, the more you practice, the more muscle memory you'll develop, and the more comfortable you'll become with that fluid action of touching the tip, pulling, pressing down and pulling, pulling and lifting up. It's like one fluid stroke. And now I've created a C stroke on the left and the horizontal version of it on the right, and then you come up with a leaf. And here I'm trying it with a little bit of a different shade of green, and I've just made those C strokes. I'm filling in the center a little bit. In this next part, we're going to begin painting a wet on wet. So we will add water to our paper, and the way I do this so that I can see it is whatever that base color is, I just make a very translucent mixture of that and load my brush with plenty of water, and I'm painting in the shape of what will eventually look like an elm leaf. And so we're just adding this very translucent, very watered down layer of water onto the paper. We're moving the water around a little bit, giving some shape to the leaf, adding the stem. And you can see there's very little color. This is mostly all water. I'm going to lift it up and let you see it a little bit. There you can see the reflection of the water. Now I'm going to load my brush up with a little bit more of the yellow ochre, but it's still very wet. My brush is very wet. And I'm just coming in and dabbing the color, and then I begin to move it around with my brush. So here I'm just adding more pigment. We're going from light to dark, and you can see I just dropped my brush. I don't know how many times that happens. And now I'm going to come in with just the tip of my brush and very lightly pull out the color and the water, and that's giving those little tiny points and kind of jagged edges that we see on a leaf when we pick it up and hold it closely. And this is just a very, very light movement with the brush stroke. And if you feel like you need to move your paper, turn your paper and get a better angle for your brush strokes, feel free to do that. You should have had enough water on your brush that there's still plenty of movement, water and pigment mixture in your leaf that you're able to pull these little jagged points out. And now I'm going to come in with another color. I've dipped my brush in the color and then in the water, and you can see I tap just the tip of my brush on my paper towel. And I'm coming in and just dabbing. And I'll have these colors listed down below in the supplies list. And again, I'm just intuitively going around and adding some of this color. And because we're working in a wet on wet format, if you will, it allows this color to bleed and blend very naturally, very organically. And once it dries, you'll see how pretty and actually how realistic that this ends up looking as a real fall leaf. So I'm going to go in with a different color here, and again touch down. It's either a burnt umber or a raw umber. Again, the colors will be listed below. And so again, just coming in and gently touching with the tip of my brush and moving that color around. We're well into the wet on wet technique here, just adding the fall colors to our leaf. And I think what I'm going to do is speed up this section of the clip just gently and let you watch while I paint, and hopefully you're painting along with me, and I'll play some music and you can enjoy your process. I will pop back in before we begin the next leaf. In this next step, I just grabbed what was handy on my desk. This is a ruling pen that is often used with ink, and I'm coming in and illustrating the veins inside the leaf. And as the leaf dries, this is like a magical part. As the leaf dries, you'll see the underlayers coming through those veins, and you'll actually see variations of color kind of become visible. It really is magical. And now I'm just adding a little bit of green, this lovely rich olive green. Next, dip a wet brush into a watered down, I think this is dragon's blood. It's a deep earthy red, and I'm just making a couple little splashes onto my leaf. And I think I'm finished with it for the moment. I'm going to let this dry, and our next leaf will also be an elm leaf because I want you to be able to see the difference between a wet on wet technique and a wet on dry technique. We'll be using wet medium on dry watercolor paper for this second elm leaf. As you begin your second elm leaf, this is a wet on dry technique. And so the paper is dry, it's not pre-saturated with water. So I'm dipping my brush in a watered down yellow ochre and coming in and kind of outlining the shape of the elm leaf and filling it in with that pigment. And I'm using more water just to move the paint around. And we're going to go through the same process as we did with the first leaf in terms of pulling color, dropping color in, and pulling out the pigment to get those little ridges on the edge of the leaf. So again, I'm going to gently increase the speed of the video and let you paint along with me while I play some soothing music and you enjoy your painting process. And then I'll pop in again. All right, now I've dried my leaf. I hope you're finished with yours as well and are pleased with the outcome. I'm taking a dampened fan brush and tapping it with another brush to add some splatters onto my leaves. And it just adds a nice little finished touch when you do that. Next, we're going to use some additional colors and paint a few other fun leaves. Remember in the beginning of our video, we said we wanted to paint what we see in the leaf. And as we look closely at this, I mean, is that gorgeous? That is just stunning. There is so much beauty and inspiration in nature. So when I look at this, I see kind of a yellow ochre, a little bit of a bright yellow base color. And then look at the little holes that are in here. There's one, they're all over. So we want to be thoughtful about our painting when we paint. And I think I want to use a wet on wet technique with this. And I'm going to start with a very light yellow base. I have sketched out my maple leaf here. I didn't put any veins in yet. I'll do that with some kind of instrument once I've painted some of the base colors. So let's go ahead and begin with a little bit of water, and I'm going to use, this is my number 4 Princeton Heritage brush. And I've got my water here. I've got the yellow ochre right here. And I'm just gonna add more water. Get that nice and wet. And I'm going to lay down a very transparent layer for my first layer. And we can always come in and add more and more layers on top. So we want this first layer to be very watery and transparent, meaning you can see through it. So I've added water to my brush, and I'm coming in. I could probably even use a larger brush for this part, because this is, gosh, I think this is a 5x5 sheet of watercolor paper. But I'm gonna try and keep this nice and moist. Matter of fact, let's see here. Okay, I just grabbed what was handy. Well, that's a number 4 also. What do I have here? Okay, here's a larger one. Here's a Princeton Velvet Touch. It's a number 8. And this will just allow me to cover more real estate on the paper a little more efficiently. All right, my leaf is beginning to dry. There's still some wet spots in it, and I'm looking at our inspiration leaf. We've got yellow where the stems are. We've got brown down here in the left corner where the stem is, and then there's quite a bit of brown in here. And then brown on the tips of the leaves. So I want to see how well I can replicate this. And we've got this green kind of, what's the word I want to use? Contracting, pulling away from the yellow. So I'm going to, because this is so transparent, I want to add a little more yellow to that so we get a little more depth, and then I'll come in with some of this green. So pretty. I love that leaf. Okay, let's see here. In this next section, go ahead and drop a little bit more brown or a very deep olive green. I'm using a deep olive green, and again, I'll add that color down in the instructions. And look at that as I drop the color in. It is so rich and organic. My approach is very intuitive. I am following merely what I feel to be the next best step to take with my painting. And I hope that you'll begin to trust your intuition as you're learning to paint these leaves, and do the same in trusting your intuition. It takes practice, and you will begin to develop both muscle memory and mind memory, which cultivates that intuition. As we finish up our painting project, I'm taking one final look at my inspiration leaf and decide that I want to add some additional fall colors to my leaf in the form of splatters. And I've got that deep burnt orange and the deep red. I'm loading up a wet fan brush and loading it with color, and then just gently tapping the brush to add those splatters to my painting. Thank you for being here today and joining me in this painting tutorial. If you're on Instagram, tag me at BloomTrue and show me your finished painting, and we'll share it in our stories. And while you're there, be sure to follow us at bloom_true on Instagram. You can visit our website at bloom-true.com and give us a thumbs up for this video. That always helps nudge the algorithm and helps others find our videos here on YouTube. And consider subscribing to our channel. When you do, you'll be the first to receive an email indicating that we've dropped a new video, a new tutorial, and something for you to participate in. Thanks again for being here. I'm Terri Conrad, and this is Bloom True.